getting through the winter, and I said, well, that'd be about a 10-minute talk. Because there's really not much. They either get through the winter or they don't. And so, in the development of these slides, I expanded it into other areas that will influence one way, either directly or indirectly, on how these animals get through the winter and how they subsequently perform, and how the winter, either directly or indirectly, affects their performance. Now, I didn't talk about drought. I think Jill would send me some questions and say, talk about the drought and stuff. And that's a topic I can do all by itself. And so I didn't mix it in with this one. We're going to start this whole program out with what everybody's waiting on. Green grass, animals out there grazing like crazy in the newly burned areas. And this is people's concept of prairie. Seeing the bison eating out there. Fast forward to November. Warm season grassland, dead grass. You look at them and say, what the heck are those animals eating that's worth eating? And if you look underneath the grass, you see all the dead stuff, but underneath it, the understory, there is some green stuff. Now this is November. It's not that way now. Most of this green stuff is Japanese broom. There's some sedges in there, and there's a few winter rosettes, but right back in November, what they were eating was the Japanese broom, because that was the green stuff, the protein. They wasn't getting much of it, but there's a lot of Japanese broom out there. This is the average of the two watersheds, the 1 and 20-year burns for the last 12 years on Japanese broom. You see, we have a decent amount of broom in the grazed areas, and Japanese broom only occurs basically in the grazed areas. In the other watersheds, it's non-existent, except in highly disturbed areas. So that means like along the roadside or some disturbed areas. But in the regular watersheds to the south, zero amount of Japanese broom. But there's a decent amount in the grazed areas, and this is what they're grazing. And it's very sensitive to fire, and that's why it's not out in the other areas. Because anytime you burn an area, the Japanese broom suffers. Now you say, okay, then why is it there that high of a percentage in the annually burned watersheds? And that's because the annually burned uplands are so heavily grazed that they don't burn very good. And that's why when you come out there, you know we run about 15 drip torches up there on the uplands to get it to burn 10 feet. There's so many spots that don't burn, and that's why we have so much Japanese broom in the annually burned areas. And on the lowlands, they burn a lot better, and so there's a lot less Japanese broom in it. The other cool season grass we have out in the fall is poa, Kentucky bluegrass. There's a decent amount of poa. It increases in unburned areas, and so if you look at a 20-year burn watershed, you see a large amount of Kentucky bluegrass in the 20 years, and in 4 years. In the 1 year burn, there's very little Kentucky bluegrass is sensitive to fire, and so it's only 1% or less. So a decent amount of those two cool season grasses that the bison are trying to eat. There's a couple other cool season grasses that are common out there that they eat, and one of them is the native. These two are exotics. The Japanese broom and Kentucky blue, they're exotics that came in. That wasn't here 200 years ago. And so you say, well, if they're eating that now, and what were they eating 200 years ago? And they're eating a different component of cool season grasses. And there's another answer to that we'll get to at the end of this talk. But Scribner's panicum is the most common cool season native grass, cool season grass that we have. And it's only about 5% in the uplands in 1 and 4 year burns, and it gets up to maybe 10% in the 20-year burns. So it's out there, but it, like the other stuff, is very small. Not much forage there, so they can sit and chomp away at that green stuff all day. And they may get a little protein, but they're not getting much quantity out of it. On the other cool seasons, we have a sedges. Sedges amount to about 5% on the uplands. So you look out there, this is another November shot. There's still a lot of green out there. Not much there to eat. They graze the heck out of it. And these are low biomass producers, these cool season grasses. But that's what they're keying in on, because that's where the protein is. And you know we do not supplement our animals. So they're on their own. And so the only protein they get is what they can find from these cool season grasses. The other thing is that in the fall, when they run out of cool season grasses to look for, they got to expand their diet. And everybody's probably read stories that the diet of bison is primarily grasses. And it is. We were in a warm season grassland, and you expect that the major herbivore would be eating primarily grasses. At some point in time, they're probably going to be eating primarily dogwood, because we're moving to a dogwood ecosystem. But as of now, they're primarily grass eaters. But come November, they expand their diet to other areas to try and increase the protein content. And right now, that includes the seed heads of these forbs, including goldenrod. They eat those off. And like these guys are snuffing down the berries of buckbrush. They clean that off. They just snuff down buckbrush like crazy. And it's only because they're trying to increase the protein content. The other thing is, Joe and I was out kicking around cow pies last week. And we picked up a cow pie that's about the size of your hand and started breaking it apart, and we had 2 dozen seeds in that. This is Glenditia, honey locust seeds. Big, and these are pretty dang good big seeds, and you think. Is this eating into my time? I'm on a tight schedule, Jim. So, honey, look, I just tried to speak up. That better, I know I can hear myself. Honey locust, they'll eat the heck out of this in the fall and in the winter. And back in the 80s, I had 2 liminally fistulated bison, and I had them out on pasture. This is my pre-Konza days. And one time I emptied the rumens out of those bison, and there was a bucket load of Kentucky honey locust seeds in the bottom of those rumens. So they're eating them, and then the seeds, they got to go through a little reticulum or mesal orifice. It's about that big. So they got to sit down and line themselves up just right to slip through that and get through into the fecal paths. But it may be a way of why honey locust is spreading all over the place, because these guys pass through, and this had already been passed through. And heck, they didn't even smell. Okay, no matter what, they can eat all the little honey locusts and all the little forb seeds that they want, but they're never going to fill the rumen eating that. There's just not that much of it. They have to eat the grass, and the only grass that's worthwhile eating, that's quantity-wise, is the Seaport grasses that are senesced. Protein content in this stuff is zip. But they have to eat it to fill the rumen up. These guys are a 1,000-pound animal. One time back when I was in animal science, we got every ruminally cannulated animal we could and emptied it out, weighed them out, how much rumen content is in an animal on average. 130 pounds of dry matter in a 1,000-pound animal. That's a lot of grass. At this point in time, digestibility is real slow, rate of passage is real slow, and intake, consequently, is real slow. No. That's how much is in it. If the bison, if you shot it and emptied out the rumen contents, it's 130 pounds of dry matter. So let's look at the forage that we have here. The red line. Hey, this is useful, Jim. I need a point on it so that when I hit it, make a hole in the screen. The red line is the minimum requirement for the bison to get through to maintain the body weight. Dots above the line means they're gaining weight. At or below the line means they're losing weight. And this is 2 years of data that we just published. So we start out here about in early April. This is when the grass is starting to really green up and come on strong. That's when the animals get out there and they find every area that's been burned, because that's where the high quality grass is. And it peaks about early May. And then a steady decline downward to about mid-July. From mid-July on, they are at or below maintenance level. They are not gaining weight. They have a window of about 100 to 125 days to put on their weight and get them in condition enough to get through the winter. 120 days max. After that, and this is the time we go out and collect pecos. You want to stand back when they drop them because it splatters. This time, at this point in time, you want to stand back because if it hits your foot, it'll break the toe. They're like bricks. So big changes in the forage quality, and this is under unsupplemented forage conditions. So this is all native grass that's out there. Eating warm season grasses right here, and so all the time they're eating this honey locust and the cool season grasses, they're still not meeting the requirements. Okay, so a study we did for a 5-year study in which we weighed the animals in the fall roundup, and then we had a subsequent roundup the next March to see how the weight changed for those animals over time. And I just grouped this by sex. This is both sex because there wasn't any differences in sex. And I quit at 9.5 years of age because there wasn't any difference between the ages. What this is the animals lose 11% of their body weight over winter. So this kind of balances out. Most of the years we had on here was not really severe, tough winters. But you got to figure they're going to lose 11% of the body weight, except calves. Calves gain a little bit of weight over winter. And that is really important to the calf. One of the consequences of losing 11% of your body weight is the wheat will die. Now, a lot of our deaths do not immediately occur during the winter. Generally what it is, it's a gradual process. The animals just get weaker and weaker and weaker, and they may end up dying in July. But it's something that was kicked in and was a result of being in such bad condition getting through the winter. Our death loss for our herd is 3%, which is a little high. Some of the reasons why it's a little high, because back here in 01, we got a mess of animals from a Missouri herd that had been kept in a small pasture that had been fed. They were just fat little pigs. But she wanted to get rid of the herds. We call them the green animals. We had 30 animals. They were nice looking bison. We sold 2 of them immediately, didn't want to mess with them. One of them we'll talk about in a little bit. We turned these animals out and they proceeded to die. They could not handle the conditions that we expect our bison to live in because they had been pampered their whole life. And so they just gradually, they didn't all die immediately, but they died gradually over time. Out of the 30 animals we got in 01, we have 1 animal that's left from the green animal herd. So these are just natural cold deaths. These are not animals that we cold off from the roundup. Another reason why that's high is because we had 3 animals one year in the winter of 01 that decided to go ice skating. The ice was not thick enough for them. In N20B, N20A, the crawdads feasted very well that winter. They were kind of high in this year because we had 4 deaths in Roundup. Roundup's really tough on the animals. And it was really tough in the Roundup. Well, we lost 4 animals in Roundup, and then we lost 7 yearlings during that winter. So some years are worse than others, but that's what happens.